my swans, welcome to the pond. My name is Dorian from Group82University.com, BasketballCEO.com, and basketball is a love language for me. How to raise NBA players like Lavar Ball. Ever since Lavar Ball came on the scene, everybody been trying to mimic Lavar Ball. They want to do everything they can like Lavar Ball did. Look, he did it. He got 3 kids getting money playing basketball. Whoop, whoop, whoop. You can do it outside the system if you want to. And that's true. If you're somebody who is looking to raise NBA players, you can do it outside of the traditional system. But you got to know exactly what you're doing. You got to have a very good idea of what you're doing. You got to have a plan. You got to understand that plan is going to have monkey wrenches that are thrown in it. So you got to be able to adjust and adapt. And the only way you can adjust and adapt to this is if you truly understand the basketball ecosystem and everything it entails, which LeVar Ball had a great understanding of. He understood that inside the basketball ecosystem, you turn social currency into financial currency. The social currency that he had was he was a 6'7" former Division I basketball player who transferred and went to Cal State. He started off at Washington State, transferred to Cal State LA, which was Division II. He averaged like 20-some points per game, 10 rebounds, something like that. And when he was down there, he started dating one of the women's basketball players, Tina. And she's like 6 foot. So now he's 6'7", can hoop. She's 6 foot, can hoop. They get married. Their last name is Ball, pun intended, and they have 3 boys. So with a 6'7" father and a 6 foot mother, you know they're all going to be at least 6'5", and now all of them are 6'6" and above. That's social currency. LeVar Ball was a trainer, so he knew how to get his boys stronger. He knew how to get his boys in shape. He knew how to get his boys basketball skills. He didn't have to outsource that. This was internal. That's social currency. He made sure that his boys were constantly playing together, no matter what. So therefore, they were always battling each other, and iron sharpens iron. That's social currency. How do you flip that into financial currency in the basketball ecosystem? When you have children that have elite social currency with their basketball skills, the way they get seen is through AAU. LeVar Ball went and saw that AAU was controlled by Nike, it was controlled by Adidas, might have been controlled by Reebok a little bit still at that time. AAU was controlled by Under Armour. If you want to play in these big AAU tournaments, then you have to make sure that you are on one of those big AAU teams. But when you're on one of those AAU teams, you are now passing off the social currency to Nike and Adidas and Reebok and Under Armour. You are now passing off the social currency to, I'll use the Nike EYBL team as an example, the Oakland Soldiers. You are now passing off that social currency to those coaches, to that program. This is my social currency. These are my children. Why would I pass it off to that? Because what does it take to get inside of these elite AAU tournaments, especially at the elementary school and middle school level? All it takes is for you to pay a registration fee. Registration fee might be $500, might be $600, but if you pay that, you are now inside of this tournament. When these teams are sponsored by Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour, those middle school teams, they get that fee paid for. LeVar Ball said, I'm going to have my own team, the Big Ballers, and we're going to pay the fee ourselves. So because he paid the fee himself, he's in charge of what goes on. He gets to hire the coaches he wants to hire. He gets to play the style of play he wants to play. He gets to put the people in the game that he wants to put in the game. And he had his boys in a very good order, right? He had Lonzo. A year later, he had Jello. 2 years later, he had Melo. So they were 4 years apart. So what does that mean? Lonzo and Jello are pretty much going to play on every team together because they're only 1 year apart. So Jello is just playing up 1 grade. You have Melo there as well. Although he's 3 years behind Lonzo, LeVar made sure he was constantly playing with those 2 as well. If LeVar would have had Lonzo play on an elite AAU team because he was the tallest one, he was the oldest one, he was the most athletic at that time, that would have separated him from Jello and Melo. So they wouldn't have gotten the social currency that Lonzo would have gotten had he played with an elite AAU team. So that's not a fair exchange. My son has all this social currency because in 8th grade, Lonzo's one of the best point guards in the country. And you want him to play on your elite 8th grade AAU team, well, then he got to bring his brothers too because they need that same training. They need that same exposure too. But those teams didn't want to do that. So I'm going to have my own team. And we're going to enter the same tournaments that y'all are in because this is 8th grade. And when we get in these tournaments, we're going to play the style of play that we want to play, and we're going to win. And now when you're on the court, nobody cares what sponsorship you have. Nobody cares what name is on the front of your jersey. Nobody cares what school you go to. Nobody cares what social currency you have. It's all a meritocracy. When you're on a basketball court, it's meritocracy. Whoever is the best is going to get the most. And Lonzo could really play. Jello's game fit exactly with Lonzo, and Melo at that time was tagging along. So because of that, when they went and played these big AAU tournaments and they went against these Nike teams, these Adidas teams, these Under Armour teams, Lonzo showed out. Who's watching these AAU tournaments? Scouts, evaluators, at the time blog guys, now internet guys. What do? They put out rankings. Why are these rankings important? Because the people that run these tournaments, they want to have the most highly ranked kids in there. There are still some All-American camps. I'll give one, for example, because he blocked me on Twitter because I told him about himself. But the dude, Dino, or whatever his name is, at Pango's All-American, he has been milking the fact that he discovered LeBron James for the past 20-something years. And he uses that because the Pango's All-American camp is getting the most highly ranked kids you could possibly imagine, especially at that time. And it's getting filmed and the videos are going viral. But that's not the only camp that Pango's has, that Dino has. They got an entire camp system. They got an entire clinic system. So they use the LeBron James, I discovered him in my camp, to sell spots in their other camps, using the social currency of LeBron James and turning it into financial currency and making money off of it. LeVar Ball was not about to have that happen to his kids, but he did want to get the media exposure that you got from playing at an elite level against other elite players. And the reason that media exposure is important is because that is who promotes the game. That's who promotes basketball, the media. And at that time in 8th grade, 9th grade, there are so many people that are evaluating the game, that are scouting the game, that are covering the game. And so when they start interviewing these kids, it looks awkward as hell. You go to Rivals.com or you go to 24/7 Sports, you go to even Draft Express. When you look at some of these guys that are in the NBA now, they've been in an interview when they were 14, 15, 16 years old. It's weird. It's awkward. It's almost like casting couch a little bit. It's very, very gross in my opinion. LeVar Ball made it very easy. You're not going to interview them. You're going to interview me. Now, this is a risky move because there are a lot of dads that try to do this. There are moms that try to do this. And when you do this, it makes people think that you are trying to be the star. LeVar's not trying to be the star. LeVar was trying to deflect everything that comes with the craziness of AAU because he got to see it firsthand. We have elite social currency over here with the Ball family. I'm not about to let y'all mess this up and get in my kids' head and think they need to do this, they need to do that. They're going to play big ballers AAU the entire time that they are playing in high school, and they're not going to go over to another team. In the media, y'all going to cover them because y'all salivate over elite youth basketball talent. And that's exactly what happened. And all he had to do was go find a media member, a powerful media member, something I talked about in one of my previous episodes, 3 things that every basketball coach needs, and a powerful media member is one of them, and he found one. He found a peon. He found somebody he could use, Jeff Goodman. I don't like Jeff Goodman. He blocked me too, because I told him, this was a while ago, I told him that is he ever going to get tired of dumping on Kevin Ollie so his homeboy Dan Hurley can get the UConn job? You think I'm joking? Go back to Kevin Ollie's last 2 years at UConn, even the national championship year. Go look at how often Jeff Goodman was tweeting about Kevin Ollie. He was trying to get him fired because him and Dan Hurley are, whatever. And Dan Hurley got a job to win a national championship, and now Jeff Goodman acts like that he's a part of the staff. But LeVar saw through it very early. This guy's covering high school basketball. This guy works for ESPN. I am going to be an entertainer. Something else I've talked about on a lot of podcast episodes. He became an entertainer. He became a showman. He became a distraction. He became a deflection. But what that did is it allowed his son, Lonzo, who I think we all can see is very mild-mannered, Jello as well, even Melo a little bit. Obviously, we got to saw some things when he was younger. And it just allowed them to play basketball. That's all LeVar did. Don't worry about my boys. Come talk to me. Because Lonzo was so good, because ESPN and all these other outlets salivate over this young talent so much. What this allowed Lavar to do is now he had leverage. Because not only do you need my son to play in this tournament, I'm bringing a lot of attention, a lot of eyeballs to y'all. So when y'all have my son playing the tournament, it also brings me, which brings more excitement, which brings more engagement to the tournament, which brings more money and revenue to advertisers as well. So because he's added more social currency to the pie, he made sure, like he said, hey, if y'all want Lonzo, you got to follow Jello and Melo too. And he made sure that he had them play in every single tournament. It's going to be very important going down the line. Because people start understanding that the ball boys were a package deal and they came with the dad, now Lavar has to pick a high school. Because that's the next step in getting your kids to the NBA. You got to pick a high school. You got to pick a high school that's going to work for them. A Montverde is not going to take Lonzo, Jello, and Melo. And even if they do, Lonzo's going to get on the court. He's going to be one of 5, 6, 7 Division I players that's ready to play. But Jello and Melo might not have been at that point yet. So what did Lavar do? I got to control the situation. We're going to send y'all to the local high school up here. We live in Chino Hills. That's where y'all going to go. Chino Hills High School. And when it's a local public high school that has never had big-time Division I basketball talent, when you bring those kids in, the amount of revenue that you're going to bring to that school, the amount of brand awareness that you're going to bring to that school, is something that they couldn't calculate, formulate, create if they wanted to. That social currency doesn't naturally exist inside of the hallways like that. 3 brothers that are Division I basketball players and a dad who trains them. So because Lavar has that leverage, bringing them into Chino Hills, now he gets to control the program. Now he gets to hire the coach. Now he gets to pick the style of play. So not only was the style of play very fast, up-tempo, shooting a lot of threes, long passes, getting out quick, fast break, secondary break. He was playing like that in AAU. He made sure they play like that in high school too. Now, if you look at that, you're like, well, he's picking a high school. He's controlling the coaches. They playing a gimmick style of basketball. How is that going to get credibility? The way you get credibility playing high school basketball is by playing against elite competition. You play a national schedule. One of the tournaments that they played in, this was Lonzo's senior year, is the City of Palms down in Fort Myers, Florida. I coached that tournament when I was in Montverde in 2009. And that tournament is one of the best high school basketball tournaments I've ever seen. They do an outstanding job down there at the City of Palms, getting talent not just in Florida, but from all over the country to come down. And they brought Chino Hills there. And Chino Hills played Montverde, and they beat them. This is a Montverde team at R.J. Barrett. I don't know if they had Ben Simmons, but they had some killers on that squad. And when you go to City of Palms, because it has its reputation, because it has credibility, because evaluators are there, because it's on ESPN, because college coaches are there. If you beat the teams there and you play there, you immediately shoot up the rankings. When we went down to City of Palms, I think we were we were unranked. We were unranked because we had lost 2 games and we were unranked. We made it to the consolation game of City of Palms. After the City of Palms, we were ranked 12th. That's what that tournament can do for a high school basketball program. If you win it, you're probably going to be number 1 in the country. And that's what happened to Chino Hills. Montverde was number 1. They beat them, and they became number 1. Now that they're the number 1 team in the country, now their games are sold out, now they're getting all this press coverage, they're starting to get – Chino Hills High School is starting to get money from outside sources, ESPN or local companies that want to sponsor the games or bring in food. It's a revenue generator. But another thing that's happening is college coaches are paying attention. Lonzo is one of the best point guards in the country. Jello is one of the best shooting guards in the country. I'd say probably top 20 in his class at that time. And Melo was still the little brother, but the little brother was on the court versus Montverde in a City of Palms championship, and he held his own. Although his size ain't there, the fact that he's on the floor and beat them, that says everything about his game right there. If you know the City of Palms and you know the competition that goes to Montverde. So now Lavar's looking at this. It's like, okay, we're going to leverage this into college scholarships. That's a part of the plan too. How does college scholarships work? Well, you get ranked and everybody wants you. You go on your 5 official visits. They're going to offer dad this, offer mom that, offer little brothers this, wooty wooty woo. Lavar shut all that down. We're going to make this very easy. We're going to streamline this. My boys are going to UCLA no matter what. No matter who the coach is, they are going to UCLA. And at the time, it was a one and done rule. It still is to this day. So we're going to go to UCLA for 1 year, and then we're going to the NBA. This eliminated every single recruiting distraction. Because I can tell you this right now. There are a lot of college basketball coaches that are predators. And I don't mean predators in the sense like To Catch a Predator, shout out to Chris Hansen, but I mean predators in the sense where they are trying to find the weakness in a social circle of an elite athlete, of an elite player, and they're going to prey on that weakness. The weakness might be the mom, but she might not have knowledge. The weakness might be the dad who wants to be like T. Moran. He thinks he's a player. The weakness might be the coach who's trying to be a college coach. The weakness might be an AAU coach who's trying to be a trainer, or he'll accept money. You're trying to find what the weakness is. And when you can find what the weakness is, that allows you an in to the family, which allows you to recruit. That's how a lot of coaches recruit. They're looking for a weakness. Let me exploit that weakness. When they come across strong parents, they come across educated parents, they come across a parent like Lavar Ball, who's super involved and knows what's going on, they run, and they run super fast. But UCLA, Steve Alford at that time, why would he run? Lonzo's the number 1, number 2 point guard of his class of 2016. Why would I run? We need him. He's right here in LA. We need him. So they got him with the assumption that they're also going to get Jello, who committed the next year. And when it's Melo's time, they're going to get him too. LeVar Ball leveraged all of that high school clout into 3 scholarships for his boys. Also, what LeVar was doing at that time, he was talking his boys up. My boys are better than Steph Curry. My boys are going to do this. My boys 6'7", 6'8", point guards. They're going to put butts in the seats. Ain't nobody won at UCLA in a long time. Lonzo plays winning basketball. They're going to come in, they're going to start winning games, and they did. I think that year they went 30-5 or something like that. They had a really, really good year. I don't think a UCLA team has won 30 games since. He played with Bryce Alford, Steve Alford's son. He had TJ Leaf, who was also a McDonald's All-American with Lonzo. I think TJ played at Foothills Christian. He played for the Compton Magic. You know, there was a lot of guys that were on that team. And Aaron Holiday, who's still in the NBA to this day, I think he's on the Rockets now. Lonzo delivered. He over-delivered on what was promised. This is an LA kid who is playing on a local greater Los Angeles area high school team, who has 2 brothers behind him, highly ranked, McDonald's All-American, going to UCLA. The media ate it up. A dad who's a character, media ate it up. They ate it up. The LA media and the national media. And how many times have I told y'all this? The media is extremely important in what you're trying to do in basketball. You got to have somebody in the media that's rooting for you and vouching for you. And at the time, not only was Jeff Goodman still covering the Ball family, everybody started covering the Ball family because LeVar was must-see TV or must-see social. I don't know what the term would be now. Lonzo played well, and LeVar marketed well. The Lakers were sad that year. They were a lottery team. So LeVar was hyping it up. You got an LA kid at UCLA, point guard. The Lakers need help. You need to take my boy. You need to take my boy. You need to take my boy. Draft lottery happens. Philadelphia 76ers, I'm sorry. Did they get the number 1 pick? I don't know. I can't remember. No, number 2 pick was the Los Angeles Lakers. It's almost like LeVar speaking this into existence. Magic Johnson was openly talking about it. Rob Pelinka was openly talking about it. UCLA gets eliminated from the tournament. Next day, Lonzo declares for the draft. Because he has all this hype around him, he is a top 3 pick, guaranteed. Enters the draft, becomes a number 2 pick overall to the Los Angeles Lakers, signs for $33 million. A few years later, he gets an extension, signs for $90 million. Just like that. 1 son already down. Now you got to focus on the other 2 sons. Okay, now, not only have we exchanged our social currency for this NBA contract financial currency, now we also have the social currency that's from the NBA marketing machine. So what can we do to really elevate the brand and elevate both of my boys so they can be in a position where they're almost surpassing their older brother? At the time, Facebook was investing in original content. And when you get inside these NBA circles, especially being in LA, if you want to be in entertainment, which clearly Lavar did at that time, you're going to get these opportunities presented to you. Facebook was investing in original content, and they wanted to start a reality show. I don't know who pitched the show, but they pitched the show Ball in the Family. And now, since the media was starting to paint LeVar Ball as this crazy dad, this overbearing dad who's an idiot, and all these dudes is coming out talking crazy about LeVar, Jason Whitlock, and everybody, LeVar said, I need to control the narrative. The exact same thing that Coach K did. And with the Facebook show, I'm going to control the narrative. All my family's going to be executive producers of the show. We're going to show how we truly are a family. And at this time, unfortunately, or maybe even fortunately, because it gave us insight on that situation, Tina caught a stroke, the matriarch of the family, his wife. So what we got to see in Ball in the Family was we got to see a dad be real, because LeVar didn't change. We got to see how he coached and parented his boys, elite athletes. And we got to see LeVar take care of his wife. He really was taking care of her as she had her stroke. He was now controlling the narrative of what people were saying about him. And people fell in love with them. They fell in love with LeVar. They fell in love with all the boys. They fell in love with Tina. They fell in love with Noni, the grandparents, the brothers, the uncles, the friends, Demo. Everybody became a character in the real world. And what LeVar also made sure happened, he made sure that his family got royalty checks off this show. And I know this for a fact. We're going to fast forward just a little bit. When Jello was going through his entire G League situation, he had a kid with him that kid. No, he wasn't a kid at that time. He had a kid with him that I've coached for a long time. His name's Chris Wilkes. And Chris Wilkes was a 5-star recruit in the class of 2017. He was the same class as Jello. Chris was from Indianapolis. Chris was Mr. Basketball in Indiana. Chris was a McDonald's All-American. Chris was committed to UCLA. So, you know, I was living in LA at that time. Me and Chris were really close, so I was around the program a lot. And so once Jello had his situation, we're going to talk about that a little bit later, he had to go to a G League situation. And Chris had to go there too. And when they were down there in the G League, you don't get paid very much unless you were like a guy that's really about to get busy with it. I mean, this is before the G League upped to salary. And so Chris told me one time, if Jello was talking about money, because obviously they went to college together, so they're going to be around each other with the G League team. And they was talking about money, and Jello was talking about he had no money and this and that. Chris was like, I use the language that I use. Nigga, you get the royalty checks from the show. You got the Ball in the Family Facebook checks, as Chris had seen him. He said, at least you got that. I ain't got nothing. You know, so I know for a fact that Jello was getting those checks, and I don't know how much that they were, but the fact that you're getting royalty checks from being in a reality show that you ain't even got to really do much but just live your life, you know, that's something that LeVar Ball set up for his entire family, not just Jello, and it turned out that that's going to be something that they really needed down the road. So let's rewind back a little bit. Lonzo's now in the NBA. Jello is a freshman. He's in his one-and-done year at UCLA. LaMelo is now a junior in high school, and Jello goes over to China with the UCLA basketball team, and he gets caught stealing. It becomes a national story, right? International story. Because not only is it USA and China, UCLA is a national brand, but LeVar Ball has been talking so crazy. It ain't even crazy. He was just bigging up his boys. He was such a media figure. And so many people couldn't stand him. And the Facebook show did well. And Lonzo's now in the NBA getting paid. They were waiting for their downfall. And this was it. This was it. Jello is arrested in a Chinese jail. LeVar did something that I have not seen too many people do in that situation. He literally used all his social currency at that time and went all in. He didn't have Facebook stop the reality show. He kept it filming. He obviously didn't have his family talk to the media, but he did. He talked to CNN. I think he might have talked to Fox News. And he was constantly calling people out, saying this, saying that. My boy's going to be good, whoopty, whoopty, whoop. And he started calling out Donald Trump. And then Donald Trump started calling out him. And then LeVar Ball and Donald Trump were having a joust of words in the social media sphere. This is the president of the United States jousting with a basketball father. Donald Trump's ego got triggered. He wants to be the hero. So he does whatever he needs to do on the back end to make sure Jello comes home. And he lets everybody know about it. And Lavar says, you ain't do nothing. We already have boots on the ground. It was already moving. Who knows what really happened? The fact is that Jello was only sitting over there for a week and a half, 2 weeks before he came back home. Brittany Griner was in Russia for damn near a year. She didn't have a Lavar Ball. The WNBA wasn't about to use all their social clout to get her out, all their social currency. They weren't going to do that. This is Lavar Ball's son. All this social currency we have built up, all these resources, all these relationships, Facebook behind us, NBA behind us, UCLA, all this stuff, we're about to make sure that I get my son home. But now since Jello comes home, UCLA suspends him for the entire year. And when they suspend him for the entire year, Lavar's like, this ain't a part of the plan. This is one of the monkey wrenches. You're supposed to be one and done. We ain't doing this. So now he has international social currency. He has political social currency. So what does he do now? My boys need to play basketball for a year before they go to the NBA. At the time, there was no overtime elite. At the time, the G League wasn't like how it is now. So what Lavar Ball did is he negotiated some deal. I don't even know how he pulled this off. I would love to hear the details about the story. Where Jello and Melo will play professional basketball in Lithuania. He brought the reality show there. He brought the Big Baller brand over there. Not just the clothes, but the actual brand itself. Lavar Ball was going to be a character. I think he got some sort of equity stake inside the league or inside of the team. And they were able to really market and build that thing out. But this is low-level professional basketball. It's trash basketball. It's Lithuania. It's horrible. But Jello understands that he made a mistake and this is his opportunity. So he's taking it as serious as he possibly can. Melo's along for the ride because now he's dropped out of high school and Lavar's really trying to build him as an NBA player. This is probably the most risky time in their entire story. Lonzo's in the NBA, getting straight NBA treatment, NBA money, NBA lifestyle. And Jello is playing in one of the lowest professional leagues that there is. And Melo's just a little brother, just sitting back, just looking, just paying attention. He gets to see the juxtaposition between his brother, Lonzo, who listened to everything Daddy said, who's in the NBA, and his brother, Jello, who didn't listen to everything Daddy said, and now he's playing this. And playing with grown men, too. This ain't no, oh, we gonna cater to you, oh, Lavar, you gonna control the situation like you did at Chino Hills. This ain't none of that. You got some clout, but you ain't about to have all that. These are grown men with families. And they're not about to give their job up just because you want to get your boys to the NBA. But Lavar went to Lithuania. They played the entire season. They executed at an extremely high level. You know, the basketball was crap. And then he sent Jello on to go through the NBA draft process. And Jello had to go through the NBA draft process, went undrafted, went in the G League and kept getting these training camp trials. But the fact remains is that Jello just doesn't have NBA talent. It's no knock on him. I think he would have been a great tight end in the NFL. But he just doesn't have NBA talent. When his shot is on, it's on. But when it's broke, it is broke. So now, Lonzo's in the NBA. Jello's on his NBA path, G League. So now Lavar's focusing everything on Melo. What has happened over the years with all of this social currency is Melo has become a social media athlete celebrity. People follow him. People love him. People want to know what's going on with him. So what Melo does is he goes to Spire Institute in Ohio because he tells his dad he wants to play high school basketball back in the States. He wants to play one more year. Okay, cool. He goes to Spire and Melo plays at a high level. And he plays at a professional level because now he's seen it all. Not only did he see everything that went on with his brothers and him going overseas and playing Lithuania, but the Big Baller, they also had their own pro league. So Melo played in that as well. He had all these experiences where he saw, like, the only way to really get this financial currency from the social currency is if I play in the NBA. You go watch Melo's highlights when he was playing at the Spire Institute. That was a kid that was determined. That was a kid that was locked in. That was a kid that was mature. That was a kid that was focused. That was a kid that knew the plan. He had a very phenomenal year. And they leveraged all of that attention from Melo's celebrity. And he started being highly ranked, just like his brother Lonzo was. And they leveraged that into Melo playing in a credible professional league, the NBL in Australia. This league had R.J. Hampton from the States as well, went over there. They had sent guys to the NBA before. And now Melo got to see what it was like to be a trash professional basketball player in Lithuania or even in the big baller league. Or what was it called? The JBA, if I'm not mistaken. And he gets to see what it's like to be in a legitimate European basketball league, Australian basketball league. And Melo went over there and he balled out. And once again, now, when they were in Lithuania, Lavar Ball got rid of Jeff Goodman because Jeff Goodman was reporting stuff he wasn't supposed to, so they got rid of him. But because the media loved the Ball family at this point because they brought eyeballs, which brings in advertising dollars, what happened was the ESPN, Mike Schmitz, who was working with Draft Express at that time, who was a scout, he went over and he would always evaluate the high-level European talent early in the basketball season. And he went over to NBL, and he saw Melo, and Melo hooped, and he really balled out. And Mike Schmitz said his report on ESPN, he said, LaMelo Ball is the best passer that he's seen at this level, and he's going to be a top 5 pick in the NBA draft. Could quite possibly go number 1. That was it. That was it. Because Melo's playing in the NBL. He's not playing in college. He's not playing in G League, Overtime Elite. You know, some of these leagues where you're going to get overanalyzed, over-scouted, over-nitpicked. He's in the NBL. He's a little bit hidden. But how he's playing is how he's playing. All his teammates love him. He's straight up balling. And now he's 6'7", 6'8". He's a point guard that can shoot, that can pass, that can lead a team. And at this point, this is his 3rd professional basketball league. It's as safe as it's going to get. And LaVar was hyping him up to be the number 1 pick, number 1 pick, number 1 pick, number 1 pick. LaMelo declared for the draft. He comes to number 3 pick, goes to the Charlotte Hornets, signs for $31 million guaranteed, and now he just signed an extension where he's going to be able to make up to $260 million. I think it's safe to say in 2015 that family's net worth was negative $100,000. They're like any other family in America. Today, their net worth is over $400 million combined. Because LaVar Ball turned social currency into financial currency. If you want to do this, you got to be committed. You got to be all the way in. You got to be all the way in emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, financially. You got to be all the way in. LaVar Ball went through a lot. He had to be mentally tough for his family. He had to be a for real patriarch. And once Melo got to the NBA, what happened to LaVar? We still hear him? He's still doing interviews? He's still saying statements that's going to make people get upset as he's comparing his kids to Steph Curry and Jordan and everybody else? He's not doing that. He did what he was supposed to do. He raised NBA players. Click the links in the bio below. Click the links on all platforms. Visit our website, group82university.com. Sign up for our courses. Visit our website, basketballceo.com. Get on the email list. If you want to donate, you want to support the podcast, $ Group 82 LLC. That's the Cash App. You watch this on YouTube, buy Super Chat, Super Stickers. You watch this on Facebook, give stars. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I'm out the pond. Y'all stay true.